Hey guys, welcome to Panzer Garage. Today I'm going to look at a vehicle that actually did exist, the Dickermax. It's not a paper tank. Two of them were produced. They've become a little popular, I suppose, in discussions with people that play World of Tanks and those sort of games online. The Dickermax has become one of those premium tanks that people buy, but it actually existed in reality, and this is the Dragon version of the kit. It's kit number 6357, and it was manufactured in April 2007, and you can still find them around, and it's the 10.5 centimeter self-propelled gun, the Dickermax, which means the Fat Max, basically, Fat Max or Stout Max. But basically Dicker in German means fat, overweight or thick. So any one of those sort of applies to this. It is quite a broad looking tank, and it's got looks like a big buffy top on it. So that's probably how it got its name. The chassis, of course, being based on the Panzer IV. So we're going to have a look inside this today. You'll have to excuse me, I've got a bit of a cold. It is a rare tank, only two were produced, and in 1941, and one of them, they both served in Russia. One of them accidentally caught fire and was completely destroyed when its ammunition detonated, and the other one actually served right up until the end of 1941, and then it was rebuilt in 1942. And somewhere later in 1942 it became non-operational, and then sort of lost track of what happened to it after that. But it either got destroyed or was taken back and done with somewhere else. In some of the operational reports it said that it's not very manoeuvrable, and it's not really. It's quite heavy, and of course the limited traverse on the gun means that the vehicle has to move every time. Virtually it needs to fire, so it had limited angle either side to move the gun. So again, that would have given its position away quite a fair bit. So, however, an interesting model to have in your collection if you are a bit of a German tank collector. The kit itself, very well made. We'll go through the sprues in a minute. What you get in the box is a number of sprues, of course a large number of sprues, some extra parts, some Gen 2 personnel equipment, magic tracks, a metal barrel, and some wire, etc, etc. You also get a little booklet about the vehicle itself. Thomas Anderson, who is a bit of a researcher and writes books on vehicles, is the advisor for this. They didn't have much to go off because there's no surviving vehicles, so they had to go back and basically put themselves into the head of the design team and try and work out how things worked from there. So they reckon they've got a fairly accurate construction of this actual model, but of course, as we know, nothing didn't actually exist. It does take you through a little bit of how they determined where the well seams and that were. It talked about the armour panels, how the welding and that happened, how the panels work together, the driver's box, the alleged fake box that they believe it is on the other side. But at the end of the day, there's no surviving documentation or photograph that refutes it being a dummy bay. Talks about even though there was two produced, there was two versions: a training version which had a very, very large muzzle brake, and a field version which had a smaller muzzle brake, and you get both of those options in the kit. And of course the travel lock for the gun, having a combat version which was basically a bicycle chain over the top of the actual brace that sort of held the gun in place there. The open top, here as well. Detail some of the issues that occurred inside, and some of the details that they had to produce from, again, the photos that they did have and any plans that they had, and then again they'd had to go back to square one and sort of suggest, based on other vehicles, where would things logically be inside the vehicle, etc. So not a bad little booklet to come with it. Gives you a bit of background to how they actually came up with the model and solved some of the problems because they didn't have the details. As I said, 2 prototypes were built in 41, but they were never mass produced. They were designated a heavy tank destroyer vehicle, and then they fought with the 3rd Panzer Division on the Eastern Front. It was designed essentially as a bunker buster. It weighed about 22 tonnes, was about 5.8 metres long, 2.8 metres wide, 2.5 metres high, had a crew of 5, and a top speed of around 27 kilometres an hour. The front armour of this is 50mm, and it goes down to 10mm at the back. So just to have a look at the box, there's a normal standard Dragon box, number on the side panel, sort of details, you know, slide moulding, realistic weld seams. You've got some metal towing cables, you've got some PE parts and decals. On the other side shows you the picture, the internals of the vehicle, the 10cm Canon 18, which you may have come across before in other kits as well, the different muzzle brakes, the bonus metal barrel, and again fairly good with Dragon, fairly good detail on these cannons. You've just got to make sure you get your colour coding right, your paint right, and as such there. So that's the outside of the box. Now we've got, I'll take you through the instructions first before I go through the sprues. There's a large number of sprues as with most Dragon kits. We'll try and zoom in on these as we go. But here you have the standard sort of layout of Dragon. You've got all the sprues laid out here, you've got your magic tracks, you've got the blue areas that aren't required and that you could keep them for spares. So there's a number of those, especially with gun cleaning kits, some towing equipment, etc., that ends up being spare, and also some spare parts, helmets, etc., that you can either use in the vehicle or you can keep them in your spare box as well, so it's not too bad. Again, standard type layout. Interestingly here you've got the wheels and the shells being put together. A good component which will be easy for painting is your tyres have been moulded separately to the main wheels. So you can paint your tyres separately and then your wheels and then put them together, and that'll solve some of the hours of painting if you don't if you paint your wheels completely by hand and don't have any other mask or any other piece of kit that helps you paint your wheels. So it's not a bad idea actually, and very well detailed, as we'll see in a minute. So again, it follows the normal standard type, the construction of the lower component of the vehicle, as you can see here from the details on. It's typical Dragon, fairly well detailed. It pays you to read through the instructions first, because sometimes these get a little out of order, and just check that what you're doing is not going to affect how you're going to paint the vehicle and or assemble the vehicle in order. So pretty much by stage 8 you've got the bottom of the vehicle with its compartment, an engine compartment, done. Continuing, just finishing it off, you've got your tracks, which are magic tracks, which I don't find too bad to put together. I do them in sections, generally the top and lower halves, and then I join them together that way. But I'm one of these guys that puts tracks on last, so I don't like painting tracks while they're on the vehicle. If moving down, you've got the bulk of the top of the right hand side of the vehicle looking towards the front with its equipment. And again, depending on how you paint, I generally leave a lot of these off and paint them separately and then put them on later. But it just depends on how you like to do it. You've got your fender layout there with all its equipment on here as well, down the bottom here. So a fair amount of detail there. Again, the other side of the vehicle, fender construction at the top here, again very well detailed. You've got the Dragon multi-component detailed jack there, which is good. As we move down, and you've got construction of the cannon starting to occur in here. So a lot of fiddly bits going on with this, particularly once you get into the gun, construction of the gun and the workings of the fighting compartment of the vehicle. Again, finishing off the superstructure, placing the gun in the superstructure in the vehicle. Again, thinking ahead, I'll probably leave these in pieces so I can paint the internal, and then I'll place these on. It'll just be a little easier. And if I can get a hold of some extra figures, I'll probably, because the vehicle comes with no figures as most Dragon kits don't, then I'll have a play around with that too before I sort of put it all together. And then you've got more of the internal storage boxes and ammunition boxes, binos and some Gen 2 equipment here as well. So the final components of the vehicle, the superstructure is complete with the gun in place. The final stowage boxes and ammunition boxes, gas masks and other Gen 2 equipment can go in. You've got the tow cable that's going on as well onto the side of the vehicle. You've got the internal rear of the vehicle with its layout, again quite busy. So have a think about how you're going to paint that before you construct the complete vehicle, or you might find it's going to be a bit difficult to get your brush in there, or if you're going to place decals in there as well, if you can get them. Again, and adding the final touches to the vehicle, the light and the travel lock on there as well. So quite a long build, 25 steps there, and you know, as you're sort of seeing as you go along, it's a lot of detail in each step, a lot of little parts. And then the painting at the rear, it's pretty much going to be Pans Grey, and you've got the factory scheme with the large muzzle brake, and then you've got the two field schemes with the smaller muzzle brake. That would be 1941, and that's after the rebuild. They did a rebuild in 42 of it, but it's essentially gone back to the same unit, and it's pretty much, though, rebuild wise, it's pretty much going to be the same vehicle, just different decals on them as well. So a relatively easy paint job. The no complicated camouflage, and again, if you can find more photos of them, depends if you want to whitewash it with snow, etc. as well, but I haven't seen any with any whitewashing on it from the Dicamax. However, pictures are hard to get, so I think you've probably got a bit of liberty there to do that as well, because it definitely fought in summer, and it would have safely fought over the winter period as well. However, bearing in mind that in 42 it did go back for a rebuild. So that's the instructions there. Pretty good, pretty modern for them. Now, looking at the sprues and the gear that comes with it, we'll cover the standard sort of area first of Dragon. I've kept the sprues in the plastic only because there's so many of them. I'm worried about losing parts. So if I get to a point where I think I'll open them, I'll just pause and open them up for you. But got the standard two-tone, two-colour magic track. You would have seen those before. They fit together quite well. It's up to you whether you want to spend the extra money on metal tracks, but generally I find these to be alright. You've got the metal barrel here, but note that it's the metal barrel, but your muzzle brake is not metal, it's plastic. I know some guys out there replace the whole thing and get a complete unit where your muzzle brake and your barrel is metal, but it's up to you guys, obviously. You've got your road wheels here, which are ready for painting, and if you can't see it, but I can. On the road wheels, it's got Continental printed on there, so again, good level of detail there from Dragon. And I think they're going to look really good when you paint them up and they're separately placed on. I think they're going to look just that much better in terms of level of detail of clearly delineating the tyre and the road wheel. You've got your rear idlers, and you've got your tow cable on there, and your tow cable ends here as well. So again, not too bad for again just a normal Dragon kit. You've got, and your PE, of course, I forgot to mention at the back here, and some clear parts for your visors, etc. Prisms. So pretty good. Now we get into the sprues itself. Firstly, you've got the hull of the vehicle. Again, nice level of detail there. You've got a lot of rivets. I don't know how many rivets are on there, or supposed to be on there. I'm not a rivet counter, but to me that looks good. There's good definition around some of the bottom hatches. There's a hatch that obviously has got to be glued on there. A nice level of detail on the sides as well, as we've come to expect from Dragon. What I don't know yet, and until we build it, is the level of fit on there. I built a Panzer IV recently, and the level of fit sometimes can be a bit of a problem. But however, I'm expecting it to be pretty good, given that it's Dragon. You've got the superstructure here. Again, I just left this in the bag, but again, it's pretty good. You can see the weld seams in here. Again, good level of detail from them. And actually inside, I'll just open this and show you that inside it actually comes in a little plastic case, just to give it some added protection, which is good. But and you can see the weld seams down, and there's an ejector pin mark in the center there, but that'll be hidden by the gun. But again, a good level of detail inside the vehicle. Now moving on to the main sprues, I'm not going to go through every single component, will be bored. It'll go all day otherwise, but you can see in here, here's the fenders. Got a good level of detail there on the fenders, and from the other parts here, again, rivet wise, hinge wise, very good. I can't see any flash, which is great. You've got part of the machine gun here, and again that's hollow tipped. The aerial, which again is surprisingly a lot of detail in there. The machine gun, part of the machine gun mounting kit there with the head cradle. So if we look into, these are mainly the wheels, suspension, etc. Again, a good level of detail. You can see that that's where the tyres are going to go on, over the top of those. Great level of detail on the leaf suspension there. So again, I don't know if you can, you should be able to see a bit of that level of detail in there. It's probably one of the better kits that I've seen with their detail on it from Dragon. It's probably one of the best I've seen. The plastic is actually quite good as well. One of the Dragon ones I was building the other day, I felt that the plastic was quite poor in quality. This seems to be a little bit better. Ironically though, the other tank was newer. Maybe I just got a bad batch. But that's excellent level of detail in these. You do have the option of the plastic gun if you don't want the metal barrel here. Most of these are the gun components for the Canon 18. And you can see how large the muzzle brakes are. That's the factory version. That's the field version. It's quite big, quite huge. Even the seats have got definition on them from the padding underneath. So that'll come up quite nice. The rest of some of the rear of the vehicle with its superstructure as well as the front guards. Some of the gun cleaning kit. Now the metal back then isn't as flash as the metal it is today, so I know we see a lot of guns on models these days that are dirty on the ends with a lot of carbon. But pretty much, unless you're in the heat of the battle, the gun barrels are cleaned very, very regularly, because the high levels of sulfur and cordite would affect the barrels and rust them out, bringing all sorts of dangerous situations to them with explosions in the breech, etc. But yeah, so just be, whilst I'd look at a little bit of maybe carbon around the ends, inferring that it may have just gone into battle. Generally, the Germans are pretty good at keeping their guns clean, of course, and that's just an example of good discipline from soldiers cleaning their vehicles. Sprockets, even your small return rollers have got Continental printed on them as well, so that's excellent level of detail there. Again, parts of your projectiles, stowage boxes, spare barrel kits for your machine guns. So most of this is going to go on these parts here will go on the rear of the vehicle. And this is, obviously a large part of the hull is going to be Panzer IV, and these are just again part of your hull suspension area. But check out the level of detail on these. I mean, that's excellent. So we're nearly completed. There's some extra pieces there, more gun cleaning kits. So you're going to end up with spare stuff for other vehicles. You've got the Dragon multi-component jack. You've got other towing equipment, crank handles, fire extinguishers. Again, just on the fire extinguishers, if they're on the outside of the vehicle, they're going to be the same colour of the vehicle. You can get away with red on the internal, but it wasn't common for red fire extinguishers back then. They were quite often the colour of the vehicle, black, bronzy colour, or red. A little bit more stowage for the external of the vehicle, the gun lock with the bicycle chain brace. Got your binoculars here. Flare gun. I mean, check out the level of detail on that flare gun. And lastly, you've got some Gen 2 equipment, helmets, bayonets, water bottles, round caliber ends. No, correction, they're the ends for the gas masks. Cups canteen set, filled canteen sets. So you won't use all of those, but so you'll be able to keep them for a lot of those for subsequent work. So that's pretty much it. That's the Dicamax review. When will I get to build this? I'm not sure. Keep an eye out on the website, and I should get to that in the next month or two. Okay, well, thanks for joining us today, and keep an eye on the site for more reviews. I've got lots more to come. It's just the time to do it. Okay, have a great one. Cheers.